It's going back the other way!
Put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive.
Game over!
Take it light. Okay.
Now you're more fluent.
Mackinac, he got three!
Up, Bears.
So this is really good right here. Absolutely. Let's do it.
Hey everybody, this is Ori from Hoop Social, host of the Creator Hour. I am here today. We are going to have an excellent episode for everybody. This is going to be one of those episodes where we have a lot of participation. We're going to have a full panel and answer a bunch of NBA prediction questions for next season, some silly questions as well. And we're going to have a little fun by talking about the players that are going to have their windows closing soon. So make sure to join us here. This is the Creator Hour. Let's go.
Get your popcorn ready, it's a show you can't miss. Welcome to the Creator Hour, where legends reminisce.
All right, guys. So welcome to the Creator Hour. I want to start off by saying happy Friday the 13th to anybody that celebrates such things. But today we're not going to be talking about Jason Voorhees. Today we're going to be talking about the NBA. And there are some NBA Friday the 13th connections to let everyone know. On this illustrious day, way back in time, did you know a certain important character in NBA history? Some might consider villainous, especially if you played in the 90s and lost a lot. But in 1995, on Friday the 13th, a certain number 23 came back as number 45. And on this day, he said, I'm back. That was it. I'm back. The simple press release. Michael Jordan on Friday the 13th came back and took the world by storm when he told everybody that he was going to return. Naturally, you guys know that if you follow my NBA account or you follow Hoop Social on TikTok, I tend to lean a little Michael Jordan because of a lot of bias that I have because he was my favorite player growing up. But this was an important moment in NBA history because look what he did after he came back. He put the league on notice in 17 games. Granted, he did get knocked out by Orlando, but we all know that was a rusty Michael Jordan. Let's be frank. So when he came back full strength with his basketball body, he dominated the league for 3 more years and had his second three-peat, which is quite incredible considering the circumstances. I mean, you imagine a guy just stepping away from the game, playing a whole different sport, trying to play a whole different sport professionally, and then coming back and going, you know what? I want to play basketball again. Let me play basketball again. Let me in there and let me see what I can do, And he had some great moments in those 17 games back. Enough flashes that people were like, man, this guy still got it. This guy could still be a dominant force in this league. And he let it be known the next 3 years, consequently. So we didn't have to wonder. And we knew that this guy was special. I mean, to me, that's always been one of the special things. I know some people hold it as a knock because he essentially retired right in the middle of his, quote unquote prime. But at the same time, the fact that he left and came back, did what he did, to me, super impressive. Another special thing on Friday the 13th that happened is DeMarcus Cousins once put up 46 and 20. Okay, so I'm not going to lie. There wasn't a ton of great things that happened on Friday the 13th in NBA history. After the Jordan I'm back, it does take a dip for sure. But I I don't know. I did a lot of research on this subject matter, and it was certainly fun to kind of see what kind of things happened on Friday the 13th. March 13th, extraordinarily enough, despite the fact that they weren't all Fridays, I found that March 13th, did you know that is the day that Jordan came back? Then naturally a few years later, that is the day that Kobe Bryant debuted apparently his Black Mamba face when he had 34 points. And then apparently that same day, March 13th, LeBron James had his career high with 61 points. So for whatever reason, the 13th is special in that regard. Say what you will. I'm not a superstitious man, but that's what the 13th, I guess, signifies. Now, I don't want to roll a whole lot on that. We have a lot to get through. I've got a special guest in Crazy Shot Josh. I'm not sure if you are aware of his content, but if you have followed him at all, he is on YouTube, he is on Twitter, X, he is on all the other social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok is very big. He talks a lot of NBA stuff, does a lot of basketball content. He does the other sports as well, but purely as a basketball mind, I find that he does a lot of great stuff. So I had to invite him on here. So Crazy Shot Josh, welcome to the stage, my guy. How are you doing?
What's going on, Ori? Happy to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Hey man, we're glad to have you here. I love talking to up and coming basketball minds, and you're definitely one of them.
Hey, listen, I learned from the best like you, Ori. You got a lot of great content.
Hey, thanks a lot, my guy. Thanks a lot. Now, speaking of content, we are content creators. I have to know what led you to start becoming a content creator?
You know, I was anti TikTok for like the longest, and then my friends told me, "Oh, you should get on TikTok." Then I had a video. I had Stitch, who not OG the Beast, the other big TikToker. I can't think of his name right now. But when it comes to me, I'll tell you. But I stitched one of his videos, and the next thing I knew, I had blew up on TikTok, and I just kept going with it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, what got you so interested in sports specifically? Were you a sports guy growing up, or was it something that you just kind of grew into, or how did that work?
I played basketball. I wasn't that good, so I'm not going to even say and try to lie to the people. I wasn't that good. I was discombobulated. Hand-eye coordination wasn't the best. So that would lead me to basketball. I've been playing since I was about 5.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. So you've loved this game for a long time.
Yes.
Now, since you weren't much of a player, you obviously had to have been a fan. What are some of the I mean, what was your team growing up?
The New Jersey Nets. Jason Kidd was like, and still is one of my favorite players of all time. Just seeing
Jason
them in the early 2000s.
You know, this is crazy, but you were the second guy in a row that I've interviewed that has said Jason Kidd was their favorite player and that the New Jersey Nets, Jarrett Spence, I don't know if you know him, he was the last guy on the Creator Hour last week, and he said the exact same thing. Jason Kidd and the New Jersey Nets, what was the appeal of that team to you?
Just watching them go up and down the court, fast break. They couldn't shoot the ball well, but you know, they were getting in transition. Being from New Jersey, that's the team we had. And just seeing them in the early 2000s go to 2 NBA finals was just great to see. And unfortunately, they moved to Brooklyn Nets and haven't had success since they've been in Brooklyn.
That was going to be my next question. What about the move to Brooklyn? Were you disappointed in that?
I thought it was terrible because it's a Nick town. So why are you putting the Brooklyn Nets there? Like, what are you gaining there? They don't have a fan base. They don't have real fans, honestly.
Yeah, that's tough, especially after having some success like those New Jersey Nets teams did and a lot of big name players to switch like that. I feel like that really pulls a franchise. Did they stop becoming your favorite team at that point, or do you still ride or die with Brooklyn now?
No, I don't ride or die with Brooklyn now. I'm a Thunder fan currently because Russell Westbrook is my second favorite player of all time. I accidentally enough, him and Jason Kidd are similar in ways. They have a very similar game.
That's funny because I feel like if you just gave Jason Kidd like just a boost of athleticism, then yeah, you could make a very good case that they're very similar.
Yeah, Russ is the better athletic player, but when you're talking about the playmaking, the rebounding, the dynamic of being a point guard, those two are very similar in their styles. Not good shooters at all.
Yeah.
Highly inefficient.
Was
Jason
it eight?
Kidd is the better defender.
Yes, that is true. I do give Jason that. So Russ may have the athleticism, but Kidd definitely has the defensive portion of things way more figured out, in my opinion.
Yeah. So there, I have a certain prototype of guards. I know that I may like.
That makes sense. Now, so you seem to be a guy that fell in love with kind of the all around guard, the guy that could kind of do a little bit of everything. Do you think Jason Kidd influenced that in you, or do you think you were as a player yourself somebody that tried to do everything, so thought that that was a really hard thing to do? Maybe.
I try to do everything on the court. Try to do what needs to be done. I did the dirty work. I was a dirty work guy, getting on the floor, agitating other players, getting them upset. I was one of them type of guys.
I got you. I got you. One of the players that every team needs, of course.
hmm
Who's your NBA comp?
If I had to choose, it would be like an unathletic Paul Pierce with a mixture of Nick Collinson. It's a very weird mix, but that's the best I can give you.
That's awesome. On the fly, that is about as good as it gets. I love it. That was perfect. That was very good. Uh, now, being a content creator, you come up with a lot of different, things that kind of come around, a lot of different concerns, a lot of stipulations with being this type of guy. Since becoming a content creator, what are some things that you've learned?
Content creation is hard at times, trying to sit there and think of a topic, trying to keep people interested. You have to find a balance between entertaining and informational. You got to find a balance. You don't want to give too many lies or go too extreme. You got to find a healthy balance in between the two. It's good to work with other content creators, but sometimes it's hard because you don't see head to head or someone not as open to work with you, especially if you're talking about people with bigger platforms. I'm just an average guy. I work with everybody. I talk to everybody. I don't discriminate. Whether you have 5 followers, 10,000 followers, I don't really care. I only care about your basketball knowledge and how good it is. We could disagree. That's cool. I understand. But I don't look down on nobody's knowledge and gonna call them a casual or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. And that's something, I'm not going to lie, that's something I appreciate about channels yours and why I kind of gravitated to you guys a lot is you guys interact and engage with your audience a lot. I mean, how hard is it, especially as a larger account? You have over 15,000 followers. Has it become much more difficult to engage, or is it still just as easy because it's something you like to do?
It's easy because something I like to do and I enjoy seeing different opinions because sometimes people do persuade me in a different way or they may open something up to me that I never thought about or seen, and it's very interesting to me.
I got you. So you use it as kind of a way to learn and get new things.
I like to learn from everybody who has an opinion. Not every opinion is valid. People got to understand that too. As long as you give me a constructive reason and a logic, I I will understand. I won't get on you. But if you give me some nonsensical reason like Kwame Brown's a goat, but then don't have no evidence, no facts, how much serious can I take you?
Absolutely. And see, that's the thing that kind of drives me nuts that you definitely it seems to be missing from NBA discourse sometimes on TikTok. Like people get way too quick or they dig their heels in way too hard on certain players. And you know just as well as I do who those players are. We don't have to mention their names. But there are certain players that people just dig their heels in and how do you find is the best way to kind of overcome some of that?
You got to sit down and have these conversations with people. If X player is this good, what is he doing to be this good? If I put X player in this situation, how good would it be? We have to give players time and can't rush a judgment. I like to give players 3 to 5 years to really see what type of player they are. Anything earlier than that is hard to say because, injuries could happen. They get traded from a team. They could have some cap to their mental. We don't know. Unforeseen occurrences happen all the time in the NBA.
Ain't that the truth? There's more what if stories than most of us know what to do with, sadly. Not even enough to cover. We all cover the same ones. And yeah, way too many variables to predict in this league, for sure. Now, when it comes to other things, even though I'm a basketball content creator, I was just curious when it comes to like the other sports, did they just naturally occur because your fanship or fandom of basketball? Or were you always kind of a fan of a lot of sports in general anyway?
I was always a fan of football. Never played because I was too skinny. So obviously, skinny and tall, you're gonna gravitate to basketball more than likely. That's what I did. I covered the WNBA. I just started watching the WNBA thoroughly. I used to like sprinkle it, but now because of like Angel Reese, Carmela Cordoza, Cameron Brink, Rika Jackson, and so on and so forth, I've been really buckled down watching it.
Asia,
MVP.
MVP. Absolutely. Yeah, man. I'm in the same boat there as well. I can agree with that. I always used to try to pepper in as much WNBA as I could, but because I followed other sports a lot, it was tough. Now that I've turned exclusively to basketball, like I can't get enough WNBA content. I'm not
I
gonna
agree.
lie. I've like totally switched gears.
And you could tell that a person really loves basketball when they could sit and watch a WNBA game actually for the game and can actually evaluate it.
Exactly. It's funny because my last week we were talking to Jarrett Spence and he covers the WNBA, and it's one of those things that I don't quite understand. Like if you say you love this game, the drop off in talent is not what people say it is, to all of a sudden be like, this game is trash, this game is bad, this is a poor game. Like people act like it's some sort of mess, and it's like, guys, this is high quality basketball that you are finding reasons to trash when there aren't any. At least
It's-
aren't any valid ones.
I say it's basketball in its purest form because when you watch some of these ladies, they're not as athletic as you see some guys. A lot of them are just very fundamentally sound.
Absolutely. Exactly. That you see a lot of the because you don't see the dunking. Not saying that dunking's a cop out. I'm not trying to, insult dunking or anything like that. But when you don't have the ability to slam it down, all of a sudden the importance of that, being good at making a left-handed, a right-handed layup, being good at your fundamentals, maybe matters a little bit more. Yes, like you said.
I find it very entertaining to watch all the teams, watching all these women. And these women have to fight for roster spots. It's not like the NBA where they go to G League overseas. Yes, they can go overseas, but in the W, it is very competitive. Plays
Absolutely.
get cut left and right, game after game.
100%. And what are you supposed to do at that point when you lose that roster spot? Yeah, like there's no G League to go into. You're done. you
Pretty
better
much.
show up again and try to get it again, because it's not going to become available. Oh man. So I've got to get us to our panel. We got to get this panel going because I've got some great questions for you guys. Everybody that's joining Hoop Social right now, I have to let you know we're mixing it up. We are going full-blown panel mode with some ex-guests and some new faces. And we are going to get Crazy Shot Josh in there because I value his opinion on these questions. And we're going to make some NBA predictions. So let's try to get the people up here as they come in. We are starting with our guy. You may know him as B-Ball Archives. We know him as Rob the Goat. We got B-Ball Archives. Rob, how are you doing today, Rob?
What's going on, Josh? What's going on, Ori? Thanks for having me back again. I appreciate y'all. I'm super excited for some basketball convo. Always nice to be around some good basketball minds.
Thanks a lot, my guy. We are excited to have you here. You're one of my favorite accounts to watch, and you're one of the minds that we appreciate around these parts. So definitely glad to have you. Thanks for joining us, man.
Absolutely.
We have Around the NBA podcast is supposed to be joining, but looks like he may not be fully in the screen yet. We are also supposed to be joined by the one, the only sports fluent himself. Let me make sure that everybody has gotten all they need to do. We got, here he is, next to the stage, Mr. Sports Fluent.
What up?
Hey, how you doing tonight?
You guys hear me okay?
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Loud and clear. Perfect. Our last guest just sent me a message saying he's running a little bit late, but he is going to try his best to get in. I might have to include him on the last half and not the first half. That is the point here. We have three guys on. I have some questions for you guys about the NBA season, and I need to know if you guys are ready and have your predictions in tow.
Let's go.
This should be fun.
Yeah, let's do it.
Now, have you ever watched the show Around the Horn? I might be dating myself with that one, but Around the Horn was a great show where they had the sports writers and they would go through the sports writers and they would kind of give them a little piece and they would kind of go on it, these little open-ended pieces or these little small pieces. And if they went too long, they would get muted.
Wait, does that show no longer exist?
No,
No.
Come on.
we got disbanded.
Really? When was that?
What is Tony Reali doing now?
That's a good question.
How is he affording that amount of hair gel?
Yeah, we had who did we have from that show? We had Bob Ryan, Sarah Spain. I think we've had almost everybody that's on that show.
Absolutely.
didn't realize it.
Bob Ryan was one of my favorites on there.
Yeah. You know, he used to live next door to like Elvis Presley. Anyways, I'm derailing. Keep going.
No worries. Do we go in? First question. We're going to keep it simple and easy to start going. This player will be the MVP next season. We're going to start with you, Sports Fluent.
I'm not ready. Okay, MVP next season. Let's see. I know who's going to be second. The winner of the MVP. Let's go. You know what? This is going to be Luka's year. Let's go with Luka.
Luka's year. Fair enough. Crazy Shot Josh. Who's our MVP next season?
The guy I felt like they should have been MVP last season. Give me Shea.
SGA. I like that. And Rob, last tidbit. MVP next season.
I actually agree with that SGA take. I just saw him put up back-to-back really incredibly efficient 30-point seasons. I think that he can actually expand upon that a little bit more now that he has a little bit more of a full front court to work with. So I don't see why he doesn't win it.
I'm down with that. I think the SGA definitely is going to have a strong case, 100%. So super valid. This team is going to surprise everyone because the expectations weren't that high to begin with. Rob, we're going to go back around the horn. Let's start with you this time.
Let's do it. Well, honestly, I'm a Spurs fan, so let's just say the Spurs. I don't think the expectations are very high right there, but we got a couple of really decent options in a couple of areas that we needed. Chris Paul is going to help with the distribution. He's going to bring in some leadership. We have Harrison Barnes to help with some shooting. He's an almost 40% three-point shooter from his career, and we have Stephon Castle. He's going to be our best perimeter defender right away. So I don't see why we don't surprise some of the better teams in the NBA and walk away with some wins that maybe people aren't expecting.
Building blocks are there. Crazy Shot Josh, a team that might impress us according to you.
I'm going to go with Rob because I agree with him. It's going to be the Spurs. I think they could fight for a play-in spot. They could give a lot of teams some trouble with that new cast they got over there. With them new players Rob just told us about with Harrison Barnes, CP3, I think Victor has a better year than what he already has. So I'm going to go with the Spurs.
I like it. Sports Fluent, are they missing somebody?
They're not, because they've got the person who's going to win the Defensive Player of the Year and going to be second in MVP voting, which is Victor Wembanyama. And the Spurs they're not going to be a play-in team. They are going to be a play-off team next year. And that's why I said I know who my second guy is. I was struggling more on who's going to win. They're not going to give it to Victor MVP next year, but he's going to be second in voting.
Oh, I love it. Now,
look at the smile on his face. He loved that answer.
Yeah, I would love to see it.
Absolutely. You got Rob super excited over there. All right. The Boston Celtics will repeat. Yes or no? And why? Let's start with you, Crazy Shot Josh. What about those Celtics? Are they going to impress you again?
I feel like they're the best team in the NBA, the best team in the East. The only team that can possibly give them trouble, is the Knicks. But I have to see how that it's gonna work out. But I have them repeating.
So you do think the Celtics will repeat? All right, one for repeat. Sports Fluent. Do you have faith in the Celtics?
I called it last year, so I'm going to stick to my guns and say, yeah, 100%. Celtics are repeating. There isn't a team in the East that I think, again, barring major injuries. So I'm talking Tatum, Brown, not Porzingis. The Boston Celtics have no reason why they shouldn't come out of the East, and I think the reason why they repeat is the West is they're just going to beat each other up. So whoever comes out of the West is going to lose to. And again, they've got the deepest, they got the most talented roster. They're the one team. I said this last year when before that they won, when I said they were going to win. The East GMs don't know what they're doing. So Boston repeats because they're the best team. They're the most talented team, and now they figured out how to win. As long as Tatum doesn't let the I need to be MVP get in the way of it, they'll be good.
Yeah, that could be a big if. I don't know if he's got that ego in him, but some people have called it and said he might, because he might need one of those for his resume. B-Ball Archives. Does Jason Tatum need a championship? And are the Celtics good enough to repeat? Do you think it will happen?
I definitely think that they have a clear path to the finals. I don't really think that a lot of the teams in the East outside of the Knicks, who obviously went all in, I think the 76ers going after Paul George is a clear sign that they're all in too. But honestly, I don't see either of those situations really messing with the totality that Boston has built. They have a complete team, a complete rotation of players that all seem to be gelling together at the same time, and they're running it back. So I see them winning at least 60 games, if not 65 plus. And they're gonna face who's coming out of the gauntlet in the West. So I think that championship or the finals will actually be their first test. Pretty much like last year.
and that's where it could get interesting. I agree, because the West seems to be built to beat themselves up. Despite the fact that we know what the cream of the crop might be, we know that there are other teams that could sneak in there and maybe shake things up that we're not expecting. Now, I say that, and you mentioned the Philadelphia 76ers, not me. So that means we have to segue into the next question. Team that's going to disappoint us next season, maybe that we're a little too high on early in the season.
Oh, well, I mean,
go ahead.
Well, I mean, that's a perfect example. The 76ers. I mean, like, it's literally Paul George going from one injury-riddled superstar to another injury-riddled superstar, hoping it's going to work out in this new situation. And I think a lot of us are coming to the realization that it probably won't. And Embiid and Paul George may not spend enough time playing together for them to actually build chemistry. And who knows if this is going to stifle Maxi's development, because now what are you going to do? Expect Maxi to go play third fiddle on this team after he had the season he had last year? I just don't know how that doesn't mess with chemistry. So I'm just waiting to kind of see what happens in Philly.
Interesting dynamic for sure, especially when you pair up anybody with Joel Embiid. It seems to be a strange mix-up. Sports Fluent, who's your most disappointing team, and is it the Sixers or somebody else?
There's so much to go around, right? Like, Sacramento's going to disappoint you. You're thinking it's a bounce back year. It won't be. Phoenix is going to disappoint the hell out of you. The Knicks aren't going to be as good as you think. They're going to implode. Those guys aren't going to. There's one ball, and you're going to want Julius Randle's going to want to shoot. OG Anunoby, the whole reason he left Toronto was because he said he wants more involvement in the offense. Jalen Brunson is their offense. Then you don't forget. Who else the hell? Who did I miss? Brunson, OG, Randall, and then Mitchell Robinson is going to get hurt. So everyone's going to have an issue there. However, he did get it. He did get it right. Philadelphia is going to struggle to be a play-in team. They are going to struggle to be a play-in team because, well, what do I know? I know that Paul George is going to play 35 games. Embiid's going to play 50 games. Maxi's going to get if Embiid isn't crying trade by the trade deadline, I would be shocked.
Yeah, sadly, a lot of that has evidence to back it up. These aren't just substantiated claims. So yeah, you guys have a real good point there. Crazy Shot Josh, do they make a valid case for Philadelphia, or do you think someone else might disappoint us that they haven't mentioned yet?
I'm gonna say Philly like everybody else because I think they have the highest expectations out of all the other teams. You got two guys in Embiid and Paul George who have a great history in the playoffs. So I just see them dropping off in the playoffs.
And that's where I get concerned is, yeah, I mean, Fluent mentioned they may not make it. I'm on the fence with that. I think they're going to be at least probably in that 6-7 range, just because the East isn't particularly strong, in my opinion, despite the fact that it's got stronger, I will say, I think. But it's not particularly strong. So, man, Philly not making the playoffs, that really puts a bad.
Let's be clear.
taste.
When I say not make the playoffs, so we understand my vernacular, right?
Sure.
First 6 teams make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So if you're up 6, you didn't make the playoffs. You made the play because the way they break it up now. So fighting for that play. Okay.
So like pretty much like what they did last year. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They were 7th last year. I don't see them moving up from that at all.
Yeah.
How now this goes out to the panel here. How do we view the process now after all is said and done? Because I don't mean to tease what's going on later, but that window for Embiid is seeming awful close to being closed, if not already, depending on who you are. What do you guys think about the process? Anybody can start here.
A failed process, the most failed process I've ever seen.
I said the process failed 3 years ago, so I don't know why nobody listened. They it failed 3 years ago. It failed when they came up with the plan. Like, let's be honest, right? Like, why did it fail? Because you told your team and your fans it's okay to lose. And then you created a losing culture. Do you know how hard it is to get out of a losing culture? Ask the damn Clippers, right? Never made an NBA final. Ask Minnesota. Never made an NBA final. Why? Losing cultures. The Clippers, since they were in Buffalo, since they were the damn Braves. And you went and willingly did that on purpose. So shame on them for doing that. And that's why it failed.
Yeah, this is a process that they should have abandoned a long time ago, especially when they realized how many injury problems that Joel Embiid was going to continue to have. I mean, obviously, when you drafted him and brought him in, you knew what you were getting. So when you saw that continue, I don't see why you continue to build around that. Even if at his peak he is an MVP caliber player, that's just still not somebody you can rely on late in the postseason, and that's what it's all about. I'm not building my team around somebody that's not going to be there going into at least spring.
At the end of his career, not to, speculate too much, but I mean, are we going to view Joel Embiid with just as a giant what if / disappointment? That's to the field. Anybody can step in. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, he's not going to win anything. He's going to be a one MVP who never made it to the NBA Finals, who had all the talent in the world. You can't really find a lot of flaws in his game, but just wasn't available, which is an ability that we don't talk enough about. And so, yeah, he's going to go down as just one of those guys that I wonder what would have been, could have been, should have been.
Right. And I think he completely shot himself in the foot, because I don't feel like he can really be a good second option on a team, because I don't think he's good enough defensively anymore. I don't think that you can rely on his rim protection and then he comes in and is the second or third leading scorer. I don't think he has that skill set in him necessarily. I think he needs the ball too much. And whenever I'm watching him play, I'm like, dang, when you get later on in your career, it's going to be tough for a team to find minutes for you if you need the ball that much and you're that slow offensively. It's just going to be really hard to carve out those minutes.
Picture him like, think of the way that we talk about Dwight Howard. Because I remember when Dwight Howard was drafted and we were all like, this is going to be the greatest center of all time. Now imagine Dwight Howard didn't go to the NBA Finals. And that's how you're going to talk about Joel Embiid, a guy that you're like, oh, he's the guy. and then he just doesn't do anything. You're like, okay, I guess we were wrong. So the only way he does win a chip, to your point, and I don't know that he can do it, is he goes to a contending team and says, okay, I'll rebound, block shots, and play defense like Dwight did in LA. He's not going to do that. He's not going to.
No. Josh, second half of Joel Embiid's career, he going to be a prominent role player, or is he never getting a title?
He's going to be, I don't even know if he's going to be a rotational piece. I think he might, as he goes later in his career, he might slowly turn into a dinosaur, which is crazy to say because of how skilled he is. But like you guys were mentioning, I don't know there's going to be a role for him later down the line.
That style, that style is tricky. It's going to be trickier, I think, as time goes on to mesh with. So should be interesting. Now, speaking of the injury bug and what if stories, Zion Williamson will play blank how many games this season? B-Ball Archives, we'll start with you.
He's gonna play 58 games.
Crazy shot, Josh.
I'll up Rob 2 games and make it even 60.
60. Sports Fluid. How many games is Zion playing, and is it going to matter for the Pelicans at all?
How many did he play last year?
Oh, that was it 50? That's a very good question.
This is the year of Zion. He plays 72 games.
It wasn't that high. Yeah, we know that much.
No, this year is the year of Zion. He plays 72 games, and he's the most improved player.
72 most improved. Where do the Pelicans go? If that happens, the Pelicans become top legitimate playoff team.
He played 70 games last season.
70, okay.
Oh, there you go.
So are we expecting a 70 games for him is a lot. We all know that. And the Pelicans showed a lot of flaws last year. We're not sure what they're going to be capable of this year with kind of a lot of pieces that don't seem to gel together, all too great every night. The New Orleans Pelicans with a healthy Zion, is that a team that you're scared to play in the playoffs? Sports Fluent?
No, they're a first round exit.
First round exit. Crazy shot, Josh. You think they're better than that, or is they still a first round exit?
I agree with Fluent. They don't have no big, so I don't know how good you're gonna be. I don't know how Zion, DeJounte Murray, and BI is gonna work because they trying to move off of BI. So I don't know how he's gonna play. It, like you said, it's not too many plays that gel well together on that team.
I don't think they're done making moves either, though. I think the team you see right now is not going to be the same team come trade deadline.
What about you, Rob? Do you think the Pelicans have some life in them if we do get 58 plus games from Zion, or does it not matter because the team's a little weird?
Yeah, I think that the team construction isn't making a lot of sense to me. I thought, DeJounte went to Atlanta and all of a sudden Atlanta got worse, and bringing him in kind of felt like a very similar situation. I don't see him helping that situation right away. And to Josh's point, I think that they are trying to move off of Brandon Ingram. So I kind of think that they're not done making moves either. So I think that either they're trying to go after somebody big or they're trying to blow it up. I don't know.
You mentioned that moving off of BI. Josh, if you were another team, how much value do you think BI still holds moving forward?
I think he has value offensively. He can still score. He can still score at a high level. Now, I think he's your number 2 to 3 guy on the team. I don't think he could be your number 1.
Can't be a number 1 option. Do you guys agree with that? Do you think Brandon Ingram is maybe a glorified number 2, number 3 kind of guy that needs to find a Scottie Pippen role somewhere?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, he takes too many bad shots, and if he's the best player on your team and he's allowed to have the green light that often, and he's taking that many bad shots, that's just a recipe for an inefficient offense. So I think that if he was more, I guess relegated to a second, third option, not allowed to take that many shots, and had to be more efficient with his selection, then maybe he would be a more efficient player. That may make sense.
So do you see him? This is to the field, whoever wants to answer it first. Do you guys see him as maybe a guy that could be like a ceiling raiser for a contender? more than he would be like a floor raiser for a team that needs somebody?
Definitely more of a ceiling raiser than a floor raiser.
That's fair. That's fair. I think I'm on that same boat. Now, we talked about the Celtics repeating. Now, a lot of these teams like this don't typically, when they repeat, have strong records like they did the first time they won the finals. Sometimes teams, like the Bulls teams, they'll put it on. You know, you'll see teams that go against the grain, sure. But for a team, coasting, as they call it, can happen when you've tasted the taste of glory. Do you think there's going to be a team that has a better regular season record than the Boston Celtics? And which teams do you think could have a better regular season record than the Celtics when it's all said and done? We'll start with you, Josh.
If I had to pick a team, this might be a little biased, but I think the Thunder possibly have a better record than the Celtics.
Yeah. That's fair. I think that's fair. Rob, what teams do you think might have a better record than the Celtics when it's all said and done for the regular season?
Well, I don't think that there's going to be any team in the East, so that just rules out the rest of the East. But yeah, so I agree. I agree with Josh. It could be OKC, potentially Minnesota. I could see them potentially if Boston hits, a skid with some injuries. I could see them maybe winning more games. But outside of them, I don't see Denver winning more games. I don't think they did enough to get better. I mean, definitely not. The Clippers. I don't see the Mavericks getting back to where they were last season. So I really think it's either OKC or Minnesota.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sports Fluent, do you agree with the board here? You think those are the two best teams that might have a better regular season record?
Yeah, they nailed it. I still think it is Boston, mind you, because they have something that the other teams don't have. Well, maybe OKC does a little bit, but their best player has something to prove, right? Like he didn't get the Eastern Conference MVP, he didn't get the Finals MVP, so he's gonna want to. He's not. I don't think he's gonna take it easy and cruise through the regular season. And to everyone's point, the East, I'm not worried about anybody in the East having a better record than them. So there are some opportunities. OKC is the one team in the West that, again, SGA coming off the Olympics, and that huge letdown for Canada, he might say, okay, I should have gotten more MVP consideration last year. Our team was better than we showed. And we got, an early exit in the Olympics. So he might come back a little bit motivated and drive that team. So that would be the team that would push them for the best record.
Makes sense. A lot of valid points. Nobody mentioned the Lakers. Oh, wait. I have to, because this is a segue. Hello. We are now moving into the final portion here. I have a game for you guys tonight. A little game I like to call Close That Window. We have some players that are entering the later stages of their career, and it's getting harder and harder to win a championship because they're getting to a point where they're no longer fully number one options sometimes. So I have to ask you guys some names, and I want you to just tell me easy, simply, and add a little bit to it if you'd like. Is the window closed on this guy for a title or another title in circumstances? Or will they have another shot? Just as simple as that. First guy on the list, this is for our Toronto Raptors fans, Sports Fluent. We got DeMar DeRozan. He's a king now. Has his window to get a title closed all the way?
DeMar's only chance at winning a title would have been if they didn't trade him for Kawhi Leonard, like he said, and LeBron left the East. That would have been his only shot. The Kings, no, he's done. Unfortunately, I like him. He's a super nice guy, but no, it is shut, closed, done. It's over. Yeah.
Crazy shot, Josh. We closed on DeRozan as well.
Just like Radio Shack, closed, done, finito, is over.
B-Ball Archives, you in that same boat?
Yeah, that window might as well be locked.
All right, so I guess we're shut on DeMar. How about the guy that took over, Kawhi Leonard? What does Kawhi Leonard have left in the tank? Rob, we'll start with you. Is his window closed, or may he see another championship shot in the future?
I definitely think he can because he has a defensive skill set that is still very valuable, and he's won a championship while arguably not being the best player on that team, and it was in a more team environment where multiple people were contributing large amounts, and so I kind of view him being able to adapt back into a role like that. But that being said, is he even going to be healthy enough to do that? Is he going to be healthy enough to warrant a contract to bring him onto a team that's in a position to do that? I don't know.
So you're giving him a little hope. Crazy shot, Josh.
A little
Is
hope.
he crazy? Is Kawhi window closed?
I'm gonna say it's closed because of his injuries. I don't think he's gonna be fully healthy enough where he can be a championship caliber player like he once was.
Sports Fluent.
So I've been out and about today. So I got to ask, has he been traded from the Clippers?
No.
Then the window's closed. The window's closed. As long as he's on the Clippers, it's there's no window. It's been like Josh's background. It's been brick over. It's a wall. There's nothing to open or close. So yeah, unless he goes to a contending team in the next year at the trade deadline, whatever. Yeah, stop.
It's all done for Kawhi. Fair enough. What about one of his other partners in crime, James Harden? Does James Harden have a title run left in his career? We'll start with you.
No.
Me?
So good. Yes, I'm starting up your part.
Harden didn't have a title run when he was in his prime. Why would he have one now?
Maybe reverse back to a 7, 6 man, 8
stop.
man. I don't.
No. Harden's not that guy. There was, again, he's another guy who never had a window. So no.
Crazy shot, Josh. Harden, window closed or open?
Sure. If he joins the Celtics as like the 15th man, and plays like 4 to 5 minutes, yeah, he can have a championship.
Rob, they have so little faith in Harden. Are you with him?
Yeah, I mean, just the skill set he brings to the table, like he just needs the ball too much, and at his age, he's not effective enough. So why would a contending team want to bring that on? I certainly wouldn't.
Absolutely.
He wasn't the answer in Houston. He wasn't the answer in New Jersey or Brooklyn, whatever you want to call it. He wasn't the answer in Philly. He wasn't he's
yeah.
He's the question.
He is continually the question. Yes, sadly. Jimmy Butler. This is the trickier one, I feel, because I feel like he has an ability to scale differently than others. We'll start with you, Josh. Jimmy Butler. Does this guy have another title run left in him?
This is like the trickiest one of all guys you named, because you see what he did to the Miami. He got them to the finals. Now the question becomes, can he actually win a championship with competent pieces around him? So I'm gonna say his window is still open.
Open, fair enough. Rob?
I agree with that. I think it's still open, and I think it's going to be open for quite a while because I think he is open to the idea of taking whatever role he can get in order for him to win. And I view him as more of a grit and grind kind of guy than a lot of the guys we were talking about earlier.
That's fair. Like I said, I think he's scalable. Do you agree, Fluent?
If the question is, is the window still open for him as a number one? The answer is no. If it's still open with him in Miami, the answer is no. If the answer is, can he contribute to a championship contending team as a second, third option and still go on a title run? Absolutely, yes. And I'm a big fan of Jimmy Butler, so maybe I'm biased, but yeah, I think he can play a role on a championship team 100%.
All right. Now, these two are a tandem. I have these two together because they are together at the moment. So, Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant, the two of them, who has a better chance, if any? Is the window closed on these two, or is there going to be another opportunity somewhere else? Rob, we'll start with you this time.
I mean that like the window was closed as soon as they put the ink on the paper. Like they have too many guys that are making $50 million a year. They completely cooked their own franchise and their finances. They can't even bring guys in to supplement what they're bringing to the table. It's like they brought in Tyus Jones and that was like their big signing. And it's like you're going to need to do more than that to make up for the fact that you were just underwhelming in the West last year. And so, yeah, I think it's that the window for all of that is firmly shut.
Shut down. Fluent. Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant. He seems
as
to be
a
thinking
tandem,
about
as a tandem, and I really like Tyus Jones, by the way. As a tandem, no, it's no. That there's absolutely no shot as a tandem. Kevin Durant on his own, right? He has proven, right? He can go to a situation and be a role player, not a role player. I want to have a better word for him because it's not a role player. It's a mercenary to get a team over the top. And he's not shy to do that. So as long as he doesn't let, his ego, his pride, what social media will say about him if he does it again, he still will have the ability to go to a team.
You think he's still capable of murking for another team and stepping in and being a number one option?
100%. No, whoa. I never said number one. I never said number one.
Oh, no. Okay, that's fair. So
he's never been a leader. Don't. I'm not talking statistics. He's never been a leader, so he can go in as a mercenary and get another title. Yeah, 100%.
Fair enough. Now, a guy that probably this is probably an easy question, but this for him specifically is as a role player. We all know. CP3, unless the Spurs pull something crazy, CP3's career is going to probably end up without a title. Is that window open even a squeak, Rob?
No. He's not going to win a title in San Antonio. I can firmly say that. But you know what he is going to do? He's going to help a lot of our young guys grow, and he's going to answer who's going to throw lobs to Wemby for the next year or two, and it's going to be Chris Paul. I mean, he's not going to have to play that much defense. It's literally just facilitate the offense and don't turn the ball over too much. So if that's what the twilight of his career looks like, it's going to be great, but it's not going to be a championship.
Yeah, you know what? Rob's the only guy that should talk about CP3 because I'll let him have that one since the Spurs are going to need him, and The real guys I want to hear about are the last few here.
Oh, and I had a good answer for CP3.
Oh, you did? I wanted to hear your answer about the tough ones.
I had a great answer. CP3's window got shut when David Stern canceled that trade to the Lakers. That was his window was shut right then and there.
David Stern did it himself. Little did he know. Oh, poor CP3. That's so bad too.
Oh, I'm still mad about that.
Honestly, I think I saw Doc Rivers closing his window in the background a while back.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was closing the back window. David Stern closed the front one.
There you go.
Couldn't escape. All right, Josh. What about a guy like Damian Lillard, who's now taken on the role as a second option? We've seen it kind of come to fruition. Damian Lillard. Is he going to get a shot at a title because he did this?
My gut is telling me yes. He's playing with one of the top 5 players in the NBA. He's a number 2. We didn't see it really work out because they both weren't fully healthy. But those two fully healthy, I think that's a top 5 duo in the league. I think his championship window is still open as long as he's a number 2 playing next to Giannis.
All right, Fluent. Do you think Damian Lillard switching to a second option is going to get him a title? Or did he do this and it's not going to count for anything?
It's not going to count for anything. Not he individually, but because he didn't make the trade, the GM did, but they ruined that team. When you look at that team, what do they need? They need a perimeter defender who can score when needed. Oh, what did they trade away? A perimeter defender who can score when needed, right? Like he made that team worse. It cost a very good coach his job. And, as much as I love Giannis, my countryman, He wanted a big name. They wanted to make a splash so that he would, be happy and resign and stay. So good. They all got what they got coming to them, which is a worse team than they were 2 years ago.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Rob, what are your hopes that Damian Lillard can win a championship as a number 2? Or are you in the same boat? Do you think that it's going to be a tough go with Milwaukee?
Yeah, I mean, it's looking like an uphill battle. I mean, they obviously got worse. I agree with what Fluent was just saying. They traded away exactly what they needed. They needed perimeter defense, and they gave Boston the best perimeter defense, who is their direct competition in their conference. So I don't really see why they made that move. And just picture this: if they're a team in the West and they win 49 games, they're a play-in team, but they're somehow third in the East. It's like they really need to start improving if they're gonna make a lengthy run in the postseason, because so much of last year was just not very impressive. And I know that they need time to gel, but the window's closing on when Lillard and Giannis can get it done.
Yeah, I have to say, if it's not close, it's pretty darn tight. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And our last guy,
About it.
who is
About this. We kill the Sixers for winning 37 games last year with Embiid missing a bunch of games. What he missed like 20 games. They won 2 more games. The Bucks only won 2 more games.
Yeah.
It's wild. That was such a crazy season for them. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, the last guy is a guy that's controversial. You'll know as soon as I say his name that he's super controversial. That guy is Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is a guy that we've been talking a lot about on NBA Took Talk lately, because he's starting to get into the glory years of his career, and we're starting to see probably the writing on the wall. Russell Westbrook, Sports Fluent, now that he's become what he's become and he's accepted this bench role, did he get to the right spot? Are the Nuggets going to give him the opportunity to get a ring?
The Nuggets needed to do something, right? Like that's what happens when you win a championship. Your players get overvalued and other teams come knocking. And, they lost. Obviously, Green was, a little bit older. And Brown. And so they just starting to lose something. So they needed something. So this is his best shot. If he does play that role coming off the bench and can control the turnovers and run an offense, or at least give him some bench scoring like that, and he's not a distraction, he has an opportunity. That he wasn't built. He was built for, I don't know what the hell he was built for, but it definitely wasn't leading a team to a championship.
He was built for speed, not for comfort, sadly.
Listen, I've said this his whole career. If he would have just learned, I equate it to baseball. He has like 105-mile-an-hour fastball. If he would have just learned how to throw a changeup, he would have been as good as he was. He would have been significantly better. But yeah, this is the small window that he has, because the West is kind of wide open for a team like, Denver last year was a letdown. They got a bad matchup, and as long as they improve, yeah, he has a window. It's still open, very small. Yeah.
Crazy shot, Josh. Russell Westbrook's window. You think it's still open with Denver, or did he make them worse?
I think for the role and what they needed, like Fluent was saying, if he does that, they should be just fine. I think championship window's still open. I hope he gets a ring. I really want to see him with a ring. But if he doesn't get a ring, I can always say he's one of the greatest 75 players that ever played basketball.
Let that slide. Absolutely. I think that's fair. And Rob, we'll end on you. Russell Westbrook, did he make Denver better or worse? Could he get his title shot this year?
I think the window is still barely open, but I do think Denver got slightly worse, because not only the season before they lost Bruce Brown, but now they just lost KCP. He was their best perimeter defender, and Russell Westbrook really doesn't do a whole lot to improve on that. And it's like, that was their main glaring hole, was their inability to defend people out on the perimeter. And a lot of it was falling on Jokic protect the rim, and we all know that's not what he does best. So I think that Westbrook doesn't really do a whole lot to help that, but there's still a good enough team within the West where they could come out on top if they put together a good string of games, because the West is like Fluent was saying earlier, it's just up for grabs right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I agree with all of that. You guys, thank you so much for being around, everybody. I'm going to let Crazy Shot Josh promote himself a little bit, since you guys have been around the horn before and played this game. Crazy Shot Josh, let us know, when I let everybody go, where are the best places we can reach you. This was Fluent B-Ball Archives. We're letting them go from the panel. Have a nice night, guys. And Crazy Shot Josh, let us know, what are the best ways to reach you and promote yourself a little bit, my friend.
You can find me on TikTok, YouTube at Crazy Shot Josh. I run TikTok lives. I talk basketball, football. I do a little bit of everything. I'm here and there, man of all trades. Follow me. Feel free to come on stage. I promise you, I'm a nice guy. I don't bite. You can find me on any of my social media platforms, Crazy Shot Josh. I'm all over the place. You will find my name. I want to shout out Ori for being here, Sports Fluent for being on the show, and my main man Rob for just talking real hoops with y'all, getting insight and having a real basketball discourse, which you don't see a lot of on TikTok, as you know, Ori. But thanks for having me, and shout out to y'all, man.
Hey, that was awesome, man. I appreciate you, Josh. I hope everyone has an excellent rest of your night. This was the Creator Hour, where legends reminisce. Let's go.